Alright, so today we're going to do a very simple web page layout using CSS. Here's the web page that we're going to end up with, although we're going to change that a little bit from what we see. But it's got the standard components you usually find on a web page. It's got what's called a header, in this case it says headline. It's got a navigation area, so we have three links. Three potential links, and they're in the form of an unordered list, which is actually a really good way to set up your navigation. Then it's got some content here in the yellow area, and then the blue area is what's called a footer. It appears at the bottom of the page. It often has copyright information, contact information on you or the company, possibly a secondary set of navigation links. So this is a real typical sort of web page, and we're going to over here see how it's been created. Alright, so as you look at the CSS, you're going to see some things that maybe are a little bit unfamiliar. These hash marks, or the pound sign in front of these words, mean that this is what's called in CSS terms an ID. An ID can only be used one time on the page, so there's only one header, there's only one nav area, there's only one content area, and there's only one footer area. If you want to use a CSS rule that's going to apply more than one time, then you would use a class. So you can have classes and IDs. IDs only are used once. So that's what we're using here. And I've just at this point given each one of them a background color so that you can tell them apart. You can see they're in this embedded or internal style sheet. And for the time being, that's all we need to create this effect. Except we've created what we want to have here, and we've given it background colors up here in the cascading style sheet, but we need to use it down here in the body. And so this is the way you use an ID in the HTML, in the body itself. We're putting it within a div, and we're saying ID equals header, which is this one. The next thing we have is ID equals nav, and inside that nav there's our unordered list that's going to become our navigation. Then the next ID we have, it's another div, ID equals content. And then finally we have ID equals footer, and that's what you see here. So you set up the ID here using the pound sign or the hash mark, and then down in the HTML, on the body itself, you create a div, you give it an ID equals, and then you put the name of that ID in there. Alright, so there we are. Now let's make a couple of changes. Right now there's some white space in here, and that's actually created by the default margins that are already built into the browser style sheet. So we want to get rid of those. The easiest way, this is not necessarily the best way, there are designers who don't like this method, but I'm going to say for now let's use it because it's real quick and easy. We're going to use an asterisk. That's called a universal selector. And what that means is it's going to apply whatever style rule we create here to everything in the document itself. And what we're going to do is we're going to say margin 0, padding 0. So what we've done with this rule is we've gotten rid of all the default margin, all the default padding from every element on the page. So we've just set it all to 0 using this asterisk, the universal selector. Let me save that. I'm going to do a Command S and go here and reload the page. And when that reload happens, we're getting the spinning beach ball of death. There we go. So you notice all of the margins, all of the padding has disappeared. For the time being, that's what we want. So let's just stop here for a second, and then we're going to do a couple of other things with this document.